Just a few hours ago, Donald held another one of his interminable press conferences in the Oval Office during a visit from new German Chancellor Friedrich Merz. And while the Chancellor came to talk about mm, relatively important things like, I don't know, war, peace, and diplomacy, Donald had something on his mind that was much more important to him: his ostensible public breakup with Elon Musk. Yeah, instead of discussing national security with one of our most important allies, who at this point is responsible for filling the void left by the United States when it comes to Russia's illegal war against Ukraine, Donald decided it was time, yeah, to share his dirty little sordid story of his relationship with Elon Musk. So we put together every jab Donald made at Musk during the presser just to show you what an extraordinary statesman he is. Take a look.
Elon's upset because we took the EV mandate, and which was a lot of money for electric vehicles, and they're having a hard time, the electric vehicles, and they want us to pay billions of dollars in subsidy. I can understand why he's upset. Remember, he was here for a long time. You saw a man who was very happy when he stood behind the Oval desk, and even with the black eye, I said, "You want a little makeup? We'll get you a little makeup." But he said, "No, I don't think so," which is interesting. I'll tell you, he's not the first. People leave my administration and they love us. And then at some point they miss it so badly, and some of them embrace it and some of them actually become hostile. I don't know what it is. It's sort of Trump derangement syndrome, I guess they call it.
Oh, well, yeah, that's it. Trump derangement syndrome, you deranged monster. Okay, so Donald is claiming that Musk is just bitter because EV credits have been cut from the budget bill. Hmm. Maybe. I think there's a lot else in the bill that Musk probably objects to, which we may get to in a second. But I also do find it interesting that Donald knows so much about makeup. Anyway, never want to take a beat or digest a scenario and consider the implications. Musk was quick to respond on Twitter, and he was clearly unhappy with Donald's attack, or perceived attack anyway. He said that he never got to see the bill. Okay, then why is he complaining about it so vociferously? He went into full meltdown mode and trashed the bill as a quote mountain of disgusting pork and said it needed to be slim and beautiful. What is it with these obscenely wealthy men in positions of power who do not understand the meaning of the word beautiful? Like, what is wrong with you people? And then of course came this kicker. Elon told the world that Donald would have lost the 2024 election without him. No kidding, to those of us who've been paying attention and watched you buy votes for the man you helped put into power. Of course, Donald, who probably is also aware of Musk's critical role in getting him back into the Oval Office, is not going to take this well. So we just have to wait and see if their relationship implodes or if they figure out some way to accommodate each other. In the meantime, I think we'll see the attacks become more and more personal. And I, for one, would be thrilled if they become actual enemies. But sorry to disappoint you guys who like a good food fight. I think it's extraordinarily unlikely. Why? Because they need each other, and they probably know some things about each other that neither one of them wants revealed publicly. Before we go on, please remember that we here at Mary Trump Media are not corporate media. We don't bend the knee. We're not for sale. Every day we expose the lies the Trump regime tells and wants to keep buried. Independent media survives because of you. So please like and share our videos. And if you support our mission, subscribe to our channel. Now, lost in the absurd chaos of the drama between Donald and Musk, was the actual reason Chancellor Merz came to Washington. I'm pretty sure he's not interested in what Elon Musk has to say about his hurt feelings or the attacks Donald is making on a guy he elevated in his regime. Merz was there to discuss the war in Ukraine. But Donald doesn't believe in diplomacy. He refuses to treat it with the seriousness it deserves. So instead of talking about one of the most essentially critically important topics of our day, he did what he always does because he can't help it. He made a complete fool of himself. Take a look.
D-Day anniversary, when the Americans once ended a war in Europe. And I think this is in your hand in specific, in ours.
That was not a pleasant day for you?
No, that was not a pleasant.
This was not a great day.
In the long run, Mr. President, this was the liberation of my country from Nazi dictatorship.
It's true. That's true.
Oh, it's true. It's true. Thank you for telling me this thing I didn't know. While I was mystified that Germans didn't think that D-Day was something to celebrate. What? All right. This just shows you that other than not knowing what D-Day is and what it represents to the German people, Donald's totally cool with Nazis and fascism. He's probably sad about the fact that Hitler was overthrown. Now, should it surprise us that Donald is not taking the war in Ukraine seriously? No. Why? Well, for several reasons. One, he's beholden to Vladimir Putin and is more than happy to cede the ground to him, even though the United States of America had the opportunity and the power to play a critical role in boxing Russia out and making sure that Ukraine remained a free, sovereign, democratic nation. But for Donald, it's just some fight he has no interest in dealing with at all. Watch this.
But sometimes you see two young children fighting like crazy. They hate each other and they're fighting in a park. And you try and pull them apart. They don't want to be pulled. Sometimes you're better off letting them fight for a while and then pulling them apart. And I gave that analogy to Putin yesterday. I said, President, maybe you're going to have to keep fighting and suffering a lot because both sides are suffering before you pull them apart, before they're able to be pulled apart. But it's a pretty known analogy. You have two kids, they fight. Sometimes you let them fight for a little while. You see it in hockey, you see it in sports. The referees let them go for a couple of seconds, let them go for a little while before you pull them apart.
All right, let's start with the least important things about that nonsense first. Hockey is a sport, first of all. Secondly, I find it fascinating that one of the only people Donald refers to by his honorific is a man who is the leader of a totalitarian dictatorship who is responsible for the horrors unfolding in Ukraine right now. Yes, that's right. He calls Vladimir Putin president. Much more importantly, this is so obvious that Donald Trump is not taking this seriously. Why? Well, because he and the fascist Republican Party have decided that Russia is our ally, not Ukraine. They have decided that it is not worth the expense to protect the people of a country that was once our ally, a country that is sovereign and democratic and could have played a crucial role in strengthening the European Union and indeed the Western Alliance. Over 400,000 Ukrainian soldiers have been killed or injured in this illegal invasion by Russia. Over 45,000 Ukrainian civilians have been killed or wounded. That is the cost of Putin's incursion into a country he has no right to be in. And yet, Donald thinks we should just let them fight it out because he doesn't understand the value of human life. Still, he bragged about his phone call with Vladimir Putin yesterday, but according to multiple sources, it was a waste of time in which once again he embarrassed himself in front of another world leader. Now, granted, who cares about Vladimir Putin? However, the idea that Putin now understands unequivocally, without question, that the president of the United States of America is somebody he can manipulate like that is deeply alarming. When asked how he plans to rein in Russia, impose sanctions, make demands, this is what Donald had to say.
Mr. President, so would you consider to put more sanctions on Russia? Because this discussion is going on now for weeks and months, and you tweeted about it once, but then nothing happens.
Yeah, when I see the moment when we're not going to make a deal, when this thing won't stop, at that moment, yeah, it's in my brain, the deadline. When I see the moment where it's not going to stop, and I'm sure you're going to do the same thing, will be very, very, very tough. And it could be on both countries, to be honest. You know, it takes two to tango. But we're going to be very tough. Whether it's Russia or anybody else, we're going to be very tough.
How much longer do we have to be subjected to this? How much longer do we have to listen to that fucking moron get it wrong? It does not take two to tango. Russia illegally invaded a sovereign country, a country that used to be our ally, a country we pledged to protect. It's in his brain. We're going to see. It's happening now. People are getting killed every day. And as a quick reminder, during the campaign for the 2024 election, Donald Trump promised the American people that he would end the war in Ukraine on day one, not of his administration, but of the transition. That was November 7th, 2024. What the fuck is he waiting for? And why is nobody standing up and saying loudly and clearly, this man knows nothing. This man should not be trusted with any responsibility for anything. When are our European allies going to stop pretending that Donald Trump knows anything or has the best interests of the European Union or the Ukrainian people at heart? Donald, of course, always needs to find a scapegoat for his inadequacy, his incompetence, and his fucking stupidity. So, whose fault is all of this? Whose? Well, former President Joe Biden.
Have you uncovered any evidence that anything specific was signed without President Biden's knowledge or by other people in the administration acting illegally?
Well, I don't think Biden would know whether or not he signed it.
I'm asking if you've uncovered anything.
No, but I've uncovered, the human mind. I was in a debate with the human mind, and I didn't think he knew what the hell he was doing. So, it's just one of those things, one of those problems. We can't ever allow that to happen to our country. The danger our country was in. And I know some of the people that worked with him, radical left, horrible people. And I could give you the name of some of the people that used the autopin, because I'm here.
Okay, sure. He was in a debate with the human mind. What does that even look like? The human mind. And how does one go about debating it? I have to say, it's quite something to hear Donald Trump, of all people, talking about how dangerous it is to have an incompetent, depraved, mentally deficient person in charge of things. I ask you again, Donald, are you looking in a mirror when you say these things? If you'll remember, this is the same person who basically had to be stopped from walking into a wall and had no idea how to open a box.
You want to help us out?
So, sometimes the corner in which he paints himself is metaphorical, but sometimes it's literal. Finally, Donald was asked about the latest travel ban, which he instituted yesterday. He credited a terrible attack in Boulder, Colorado on Sunday as the reason for reinstating the ban, which bans 12 countries, all of them notably from Middle Eastern and African countries. It's just one flaw in his logic, if you want to call it that. And the press was rather curious about it.
On your new travel ban, why now? And if the Boulder attack was part of your reasoning, why not include Egypt on that list where the suspect is from?
Well, because Egypt has been a country that we deal with very closely. They have things under control. The countries that we have don't have things under control. And why now? I can say that it can't come soon enough. frankly. And we want to keep bad people out of our country.
Well, we're doing a really shitty job of that because you're sitting in the Oval Office. Also, if Egypt has things under such great control, why did a man from Egypt commit this attack? Now, don't get me wrong. I think it's absurd to blame an entire country of people for something one individual commits. But if that's your logic, be consistent. But again, Donald knows nothing about either logic or consistency. So once again, we were treated to a press conference in which a leader of a quite significant country, an ally, a member of NATO, had to sit there while Donald's brain melted out of his ears. Had to sit there while a man contradicted himself, lied constantly, and made it clear that he does not care about the most pressing issues of our time. A man who continues to blame his predecessor for his own failings. The idea that he would accuse President Biden of not knowing what's going on when every single day we could put together a clip of quotes from Donald in which he says he knows nothing. I didn't know. I didn't know what was in this bill. Ask them. I had nothing to do with it, is just beyond bearing. So we can look at these press conferences as evidence that Donald is unprepared, he's unknowledgeable, he's unserious, and he should not be anywhere near the levers of power. Do we really need more evidence of that? We've known this for over 10 years now. But let's look at it a little differently. Let's look at these press conferences as alarming evidence that the person ostensibly in charge of this country, the president of the United States of America, has lost his mind and needs to be committed, not just to protect the American people, but to protect himself. And here's the sad thing. He's still of use. So the fascists in the Republican Party, people like Elon Musk, people like Peter Thiel, people in his family are going to allow this to continue because they don't care about him any more than he cares about them. Think about that for a second. They're going to continue to allow this person to be set loose upon American democracy and the people of this country. They're going to continue to allow him to do as much harm as humanly possible, even though they know that this can't possibly be good for him either. Not that we should care about that, but you would think one person in his life would care enough about him, and they don't. So, on the one hand, what does it say about us that we continue to subject ourselves to people like Donald Trump? But what does it say about him that he doesn't have one person on his side? Please take a second and like and share this video. It'd be awesome if you could subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to us in podcast form, please follow us and give the show a 5-star rating because it really does help other people find our content. Thanks.